Good evening, everyone. My goodness, feels so long since the last time we were on air.
It does. It feels like a long time. It feels like we blinked and all of a sudden we're at the end of the year. I don't even know where any of the time went.
I know, it's great. Well, it just tells you how jam-packed the entire year really has been.
That's the truth. But, I mean, to be honest, what an incredible night to be here with you guys on Election Eve. I mean, this is a night unlike any other in memorable history, maybe in history at all. History, speaking of, is happening before our eyes. No matter what, history is being made tomorrow. It is a day that is going to have rippling effects and impacts and consequences to be felt all around the world for decades to come.
That's right, and the operative word here is consequences, because elections have consequences. If there is one thing that should be abundantly clear by now, it is that progress through the ages, from the Industrial Revolution to the internet boom to where we find ourselves today, that the nature of government plays an integral role in how jobs are created, in how communities thrive, and how we live our lives. The truth is, elections are not some far-off magical thing. They are right here, right up close, and very, very personal. Each of us have that responsibility. Each of us have a vote.
That's exactly it, right? The power of that vote. And when you take a step back and you look at where we are with everything that's going on, we are really in the early stages of the next great industrial revolution. There is so much at stake for everyone, for communities, for businesses, for entrepreneurs, for investors, for everyday people. The stakes really could not be any higher than they are.
I know. That is so true. I mean, just look at this election. I know we've been talking about this so much, but we really hope that the momentum that we saw and experienced firsthand at the UN earlier this year continues after this election. Because as a global community, we have major changes and challenges that we need to navigate. We need concerted and coordinated effort and momentum to really meet this moment.
That is exactly it. And it's something that I think the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed captured beautifully in remarking on the days that led into this year's General Assembly, that they were a reminder of the immense potential of collaboration, of what we can achieve when we come together united in purpose across sectors, generations, and continents. And your diverse contributions, she said, reflecting on all of those who joined those days, reflect the richness of what can be achieved when everyone is brought to the table in inclusive dialogue. And that, to what you mentioned, this momentum, it is not something anyone's going to solve alone, but it does take that action. It takes getting out there tomorrow to vote. And we'll say this, as we've always been clear on this, that Planet First Action is not a show about politics or partisanship. It's about new innovations, new technologies, the new jobs that are no longer of the future but are here today. And with that, Planet First Action and the Planet First Action team are not going to tell you who to vote for. But what we can tell you is that, as we've been saying, with all these developments in technology, the future is here today. And the role of government cannot be overstated in that future. I mean, even just look back at history before we even got to where we are today. As we mentioned in a previous episode, the highway system, the roads that many of us take for granted, on which our communities and our economy travels, that was a public works project deployed by the federal government under President Eisenhower.
That's right, and things are moving so fast. Since we were last on air, more developments in new technologies, new programs, new partnerships have really come to life. And as you'll know from past episodes, developments with the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which is now fully obligated, and we are starting to see how that $27 billion is going to be deployed in communities and how it's going to create jobs.
I know. It's so exciting to see that the first projects have been funded, and I can't wait to see more of it roll into communities. But with that said, on this election night, we look at this momentum. We look at this industrial revolution that is already underway and is only going to speed up, and what it means for our families, our jobs, our children, and their children. And we say to everyone who may still be on the fence about whether or not they should vote, to go out and vote.
That's right. And when he signed the Voting Rights Act of 1975, President Gerald Ford remarked that the right to vote is at the heart of our American system. And in fact, President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself remarked that nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves. And the only way they could do that is by not voting at all.
That's exactly it. It's at the heart of our system, and it is something that only you can take away from yourself. But I will say, speaking of presidential quotes on voting, this one has got to be one of my favorites. It's from Abraham Lincoln, and he said, "Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters."
That's right. Do not burn your behind. And so please, everyone listening in, don't turn your back on the fire. Get out there tomorrow and vote. And that quote, turning their backs on the fire, while it's quite fitting, and it's also a bit funny, the situation today is nothing to laugh at. Wildfires are raging. We have record flooding happening around the world. Hurricanes are hitting the country like never before. It is imperative that we move forward quickly with the urgency and partnership to deploy these new solutions. The toll on human life and nature and our economy, frankly, continues to increase at an accelerating and alarming rate.
That's true. And we head into this election tomorrow with that urgency. And as Cam Lawrence, the CEO of New Lab, remarked in the premiere episode for Planet First Action, that this right now, this is a unique moment and opportunity that we have been given. And it's something that if we get it right, our children and grandchildren will be proud of it. And as we wrap up this very brief but important Election Eve podcast, we also want to share with you all that we have an incredible lineup of content to close out this year on Planet First Action. Holiday specials that are just absolutely inspirational and hit close to home, literally. And features highlighting those very leaders that are developing the new technologies and also revitalizing old technologies and ways of doing things in order to meet the needs of this moment.
That's right. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. But more than anything else, go vote tomorrow. Remember, be prepared. Wear comfy shoes. Prepare to bring a lawn chair. Go make a difference. Go vote.
I don't know. I always wear comfy shoes. But remember all. One planet, one future, one vote. We all need to vote for that action, for that planet, for our children and our future. They depend on it. Do not let them down. Go out and vote. Thank you so much, as always, for everyone who has tuned in and listened, and always appreciate you sharing, liking, subscribing, sending this word along. But specifically, go out and vote. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you all soon.